So what was it like when you got the first offer?
I was ecstatic. I got it while I was at work. I took 40 minutes from after it to tell everybody I could get an earshot with, and then left and went to football practice.
You need someone that can help you through the process. I mean, there was a lot of questions that you answered and your team answered for me that I was very nervous about. What you provide with the face to face and the follow up communication, and then having technically a personal coach is probably the only way you're going to get through this process. It's the follow up that you provide that is what got him where he is today. One of the things he struggled with was one word answers. And I'd be like, hey, Riley, what are you doing tonight? Nothing. Well, now I'm getting like a paragraph where when he was talking with Brian, and by doing those exercises with your team, he's become a better communicator where the coaches are like, hey, this kid sounds intelligent.
Before I started doing the recruitment process, I could not go to a random stranger and ask for their phone number. That's not happening. And now I could talk to anyone. I'm the guy that goes up and asks for the number of people at the table at restaurants instead of the awkward conversation from one of the other friends. The recruiting process definitely built my confidence in more than just football, speaking in public, everything.
You've definitely given my son a path, and it's proven. So thank you.
You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just £5,700, myself, to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans.
And so before we met, what were some of the challenges that you were facing when it through the recruiting process?
I really wasn't getting responses back from anything. I would be going to camps, getting phone numbers at the camps. They want to answer the email that they told me they had. Maybe I went to a visit and I talked to the coach, and then I tried texting him after on his, like, he gave me a card. I tried texting him, got nothing back. So I just felt like everything I was trying to do to put myself in front of the coaches just wasn't getting any response. Like anything, just nothing was coming back in the way I wanted to come.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It's tough. So, what were some of the things that you were doing, again, before we met, to overcome some of these challenges, to try and get coaches to respond back to you, and before we met?
I tried using other recruiting platforms, and I still was met with not getting the responses I wanted. I was able to get like something that said a school looked at you, and then I'd try to talk to that school and I wouldn't get anything from it. I was trying everything I could to get to talk to a coach, just have someone respond to me.
Some sort of like interaction.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. And so, I'm really glad that we did meet, and obviously we met and started kind of going through a process, right? So share a little bit of that, right? What it was like. Now it's like, okay, we met. What are some of the things that you started doing at that point?
Once I started, I felt like I had a lot more. I felt like I had more to do. Like every day was, okay, now I got to post something. All right, well, I got to get more emails out. I wasn't doing this before. I got to follow up. I wasn't following up before. And I knew that if I didn't do it, then the next week I'd be on a call getting told why and asked why I wasn't doing it. So it just helped me out more with the fact that I had someone pretty much on my back pushing me to do the things I was supposed to be doing.
Mm, yeah. There's nothing like getting on a call and being asked when you were when you said you're going to do something, hey, did you do it? And having to say no, and then having to do that consistently. That doesn't work, right? So, so what were some of the things that you did to start getting some responses and to start getting into some conversations with coaches? But that was different than what you're doing before.
DMing. I wasn't DMing before. The second I started DMing, I started getting responses from all sorts of coaches. Even if it was just a one-word response, like even if it was just, I'll check out your film or fill out our questionnaire, I wasn't even getting that before. So once I started DMing, that worked really well. And calling. I wasn't calling coaches before. I was mostly just trying to email or text through a number I found, where when I was calling them, they would pick up. And when I was calling them more than once, then they would actually start to pick up.
Mm, gotcha. Okay. So when you started calling them, what were, having those, what gave you the ability to say, like, I'm going to pick up the phone and call? Because that's not easy, right? Like to call someone you've never met that has no idea who you are. That's pretty tough, man. Most people won't do that.
What really pushed me to start calling and doing that more, and what made me feel more confident, is during the calls when I first started, I would sit there and listen to see how far behind I was compared to the other people in the call. And you'd have two kids from Texas saying that they called a coach and they got an offer right away. Like they just called the coach saw their phones. Or you would have a kid that would said, yeah, I got 3 D1 offers this week. That, like, me listening and seeing that made me feel like, okay, well, something's working that they're doing. I'm going to try doing exactly what they're doing.
That's awesome, man. What were some of, outside of calling, what were some of the other things that you did that really helped you in the process?
The camp visits before, I feel like it was, you got invited to a camp, you went, you talked to some of the coaches after, or the coaches didn't even talk to any of the people after, and then you kind of just hoped that something happened. When you started teaching me how to talk to a coach at a camp and how to act at a camp and what to show and do, I feel like that really helped, because I would go to a camp, I'd do good, and then I'd actually get the coach's numbers after, whereas before I was not. I would talk to them and then I'd leave.
Yeah. Yeah. So you actually had the ability to follow up with them.
Yes.
Cool, man. So, what was it like when you got the first offer?
Oh, I was ecstatic. I got it while I was at work. I took
What?
40 minutes from after it to tell everybody I could get an earshot with, and then left and went to football practice.
Did you call your dad?
Oh, he was the first person I called. I was outside.
You must have been pumped, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. What'd he say?
I think he was also at work, but he said, honestly, I think he jumped up out of his chair. He said, like, let's go. He was really pumped.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Henry, how was that, man, when he called you?
So it's interesting. There was things that we learned with you and your team, that when Raleigh made a point about the follow-up. So when we went to Norwich, he did the summer camp up there, and he performed very well, and he did his thing. But when the coach asked us to come back, it was like only a month later, and it was kind of like we were just there. How important is this meeting? Because we've already did the tour of the school, and so we did the site visit for the second time, and he got a chance to put a jersey on, and we got on the airplane and flew home, and then the next day, I mean, it was that quick. And I think most of it was these coaches want to see what your commitment is to them.
Yeah,
And
100%.
that was what was nice about the experience, that we didn't feel like it was a wasted trip. Now, granted, we've been to a lot of camps and seen a lot of coaches and done a lot of different things over the years, but the reward was just that much more because it was that fresh. Um, which is different than his second experience where we were given, um, he had the fastest times at camp, and he beat all the other kids out on the field, and I think he liked the proximity of the second college a lot more. Um, but it was like a waiting game, and it was, well, do they really want me? And there's a lot of tug of war with emotions through this whole process, and you gotta stick firm to your beliefs that you're doing the right things. Couple that with the degrees that are available. You know, I saw a quote the other day that only 7% of high school players make it to D1, D2, D3, or JUCO, or any of the things. So if you're part of that 7%, there's nothing to be ashamed of. You're playing at the next level. And I I let him know, like, you're part of a separate group here now, So um, that it was very rewarding. Those all
Yeah.
those weeks and days weren't for nothing.
Yeah, no, and for you, Henry, from like a parent's perspective, like having to support him through the process, other parents listening, what were some things that you did that really, really helped with him through the process?
So I'm probably not the easiest parent, and Riley will probably smile on the screen, and I'm pretty stern. It's when I first interviewed with your team, the one thing I wanted to make crystal clear was that I am not going to hold his hand through this process. Now, before he had a driver's license, I mean, we've been going to camp since his freshman summer. Um, you put the work in as a parent to go to the camps, and you're sitting there in 110-degree heat in the stands, and you know, I was completely clueless to what all these things meant, and the maturity. I wanted him to take ownership, and the one thing that, um, who was the lady that we first met when we did the
It was
pre-interview?
Natalie.
One of the things that she looked straight at him in the camera and said, if you're not committed to this, then you're not going to be part of the program. And I think his eyes perked up a little bit, and he understood, I got to have my what I ate and turned in, and I have to have these things uploaded. And it gave him the drive to want it more than just for the illusion of I'm playing the next level. You know, um, Social media these days, I hate it because you see all these things. So and so's got an offer, and little Gronk is 7 years old, and the Chicago Bears want him, and
Yeah, right.
there's a lot of things that
You
that
just
the
flipped
youth
his
today,
commitment.
yeah, there's a lot of things today that the youth see that could not be what is really going on. But I told my wife, after his last camp this past summer, I mean, even if he doesn't play one snap of football, watching him take his cell phone and walk up to complete strangers and engaging in conversation, and hey, can I get your Twitter, and what can I tag you, and then thanking them afterwards, that's going to help him in other aspects of life. And that's why I love the game of football, because it's not just X's and O's.
It's definitely not. I feel like it teaches you, first of all, when you play football, I mean, this too, like you're going to hit every emotion on the spectrum every week almost, and having to deal with all of those emotions and having to deal with it. And then the recruiting process, Henry, I mean, you're a businessman, right? Like having to deal with rejection and failure and constantly being told no and negativity. And I mean, what Riley has done and like you said, now walking up to a coach and saying, I'm interested. What's your cell phone? I want to follow up, and being able to sell himself. Like this is something that football is great. I love football, right? But like beyond football, these are things that Riley, that 99, I don't know the percentage, but a high percentage of young 17 and 18-year-old kids aren't doing, which is going to set Riley up for after the game, his ability to do things that others aren't going to do, which is go after what the hell they want and get it by making the calls, by standing up to people, by not allowing failure and rejection to stop them.
Exactly. And there, you know, I was telling my friend, like, the his growth with having to be on them calls Wednesday night. I mean, I don't care where he was, he would be like, I got to get on my Wednesday night call, and I got to have this in. And then Monday morning, he would get that group chat. Riley, you forgot to turn your stuff in, and then you guys didn't see the text from dad, like, what are you doing? Come on, let's go. Because I didn't want to put him on the spot with,
Yeah.
the
Totally.
group stuff. But it's it's been very rewarding. And, Riley came from a program that had 0 wins the year before he came in. So his senior class was kind of special because they kind of carried that program through. And when we were talking about Norwich, and their record, he's like, I can do the same thing there. I want to be the one of the players that helps reboot that program and get it back going. So, for all those reasons, the maturity piece of this exercise and this experience has been the most rewarding.
That's awesome, man. Riley, how does that, like, just the fact, like your dad's saying, you go into this program, confidence, not worried about failure, overcoming obstacles, man, these are skills these are traits, excuse me, that are awesome, man. Like, I'm super excited to continue to follow your journey. For you specifically, how do you feel about, like, where you are today, and, not just from this, but just going through the recruiting process and sticking to it? How do you feel you've grown?
It's definitely grown me in more ways than I would have been able to do on my own. I feel like I can guarantee you, before I started doing the recruitment process, I could not go to a random stranger and ask for their phone number. That's not happening.
Totally. And now?
And now I could talk to anyone. Like, I'm the guy that goes up and asks for the number of people at the table at restaurants instead of the awkward conversation from one of the other friends.
So for you, a lot is like, it's like confidence.
Yeah, the recruiting process definitely built my confidence in more than just football. Speaking in public, everything.
Dude, that's awesome.
Your Wednesday night calls probably helped me talk on this call today. I probably would be like answering in 2-word sentences.
But you're killing it now, man.
If I
Look at
wasn't,
you. Dude, you got to be so proud of yourself, man.
I am. I feel like the calls and the recruiting process definitely helped build me as a character, like build my character as a person.
Yeah. I love it, man. The football stuff, the offers, all that stuff is great, man. But what you're sharing with me right now is makes my day, man. That's what this is all about. So I love it, man. I absolutely love it. How about you, Henry? Anything you want to share to parents that that were in your position where you're like, hey, I want my son to take initiative, to take control of the situation, and any advice that you'd have for them that were, that are in your position that you were in a year or two ago?
The only thing that I would say is it's very overwhelming in the beginning, and it's hard to think about college and playing when your athlete is a freshman per se. But the 4 years fly by quick, and the getting to the camps, while there's a lot of things out there that don't make sense and are money grabs, there's a lot of things out there that do make sense. But you need someone that can help you through the process. I mean, there was a lot of questions that you answered and your team answered for me that I was very nervous about, where, I'm still receiving emails, we invite you to play in Houston, Texas at this, Dorito Bowl, or, there's a lot of fluff out there. The things that matter are, what are you eating? Are you in the weight room? Are you getting your Twitter out? Are you using your film properly and your communication skills? And if you're lacking in those things, I don't think you're going to walk away with a D1 offer as a freshman. I don't think you're going to walk away with any kind of offer. But as long as you walk away with something, the one thing that you have to understand is that every one of those experiences is a stepping block to the next step. This school really backed him up well. So they saw something in him and enough to bring him back and give him an offer. And, it's not just about the level, it's about getting to that step. And it's not going to be easy as you're walking through that, but you got to be committed, and you got to follow through with the things that people are telling you to do, like yourself.
Yeah, I love it, man. And Henry, while you're there, is there any advice that you would have for parents that are thinking about potentially working with myself and the team, but are unsure? Like, hey, is this is this good, or is this like some of the other recruiting stuff? Like, what would you share
So
advice? Yeah.
when I came to you and I saw your blip on Facebook, I'm like, it's about how big Riley is, and we got a shot here. Um, what you provide with the face to face and the follow up communication, and then having technically a personal coach, is probably the only way you're going to get through this process. There's a lot of things out there that are looking just to get a dollar from you, and will
Right.
tell you that we're going to do all these things. Um, but it's the follow up that you provide that is what got him where he is today. Um,
Yeah.
just posting your stuff on some random website, the amount of websites that are out there these days, uh, for a coach to follow through with that. But knowing that you need to say this, and hey, can you read? One of the biggest things was, we talked about public speaking. One of the things he struggled with was one word answers. And I'd be like, hey, Riley, what are you doing tonight? Nothing. Well, now I'm getting like a paragraph, where when he was talking with Brian, it was, hey, can you proofread my chat to this coach? Hey, take this word out and say it like this. And by doing those exercises with your team, he's become a better communicator, where the coaches are like, hey, this kid sounds intelligent, not, hey, I watched your huddle and great play, and the player comes back and with a thumbs up emoji. You know, he's actually taking that as, okay, I see a door opening now. Hey, well, if you saw that huddle, check out this play, and this is what I can do, and this is my 40 time, and this is my squat. So
Right.
that's the best part of it, was the engagement. You're not going to
Yeah.
get that with just some random website that you post things on.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, we're talking about, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, man. Like, it's the engagement, the follow-up, the accountability to it, just like what we're teaching them to do, which is follow up with the coaches and even hold these coaches accountable to getting back to you and when they say they're going to, and all that. I agree. I feel like that's the only way that it works. Without that, people lose focus way too fast. Way too
You people, he means you, Riley.
fast. I mean, I feel like just in general, like, but young men for sure. But
Yeah, there's a
that's
lot of
awesome.
outside noise out there these days. So
It's crazy.
you've definitely
But cool.
given my son a path, and it's proven. So thank you.
Yeah, you got it, man. I love every minute of it, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to work with you, Riley, and you, Henry, as well. So good stuff.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.